Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Okay, so I want to welcome everyone to the podcast, broadcast, or Facebook Live, whatever. Anyway, thanks for joining. And I'm excited that I'm talking to a good friend of mine, Denise Martin. Denise and I, it's kind of funny. I was teaching a CRB, I think it was a CRB course, Denise. It may have been another course.
I took several courses that you taught when I was in Memphis.
And she was in Memphis, and I tell you what, for a speaker and a trainer, you've not had an experience till you go to Memphis, because the people are so nice and kind, and it's one of the few places where I feel like I'm preaching a sermon, because you're getting all this great feedback from the people in the audience. But Denise and I met there and actually became Facebook friends and have stayed in touch for several years. And then about 2 years ago, we were both at the Missouri Real Estate Commission meeting. And she's like, yeah, I moved to Kansas City. So we got to acquainted. And then she's been working with Keller Williams for a number of years. And she introduced me to a school in Kansas, and was an integral part in helping Global Real Estate School provide courses through another school in Kansas, and has also referred me to many people around the country. So Denise, thank you for that. And I appreciate that. So
you're welcome.
Yeah. So
I have another couple for you.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I always appreciate that.
I'll give them to you later.
Yeah. So, Denise, on my Global Real Estate School Facebook page, of course, I always want to help people pass the exam, but a lot of people who watch and listen also are just thinking about a career in real estate. And I just, what are your thoughts, or if somebody comes in and you meet someone and they say they're thinking about a career in real estate, what advice do you give them, or what do you tell them? Because I know I have lots of people throughout my life who they always say they love looking at homes, so they think they would be a great real estate agent. And it's much more than that, but I'll let you elaborate your advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. In fact, the buying and selling of real estate is actually not the job. The job is building relationships with people and showing them how you can help them. And you lead generate to build those relationships. So you can't just walk in the door, get your license, and all of a sudden you have all this business. That's not the way it works. It'd be nice if it was, but it's not. And it's all about being willing to talk to people and come from contribution, because it's not an impulse buy. You're not going to buy or sell a home just like that. It just doesn't happen. So you need to be in front of people and let them know how you can help them. Come from contribution. And that's how you build relationships, and that's how you build a real estate business.
Okay, great. Excellent. Now tell us a little bit about your career. You started out as, I'm sure, a salesperson, but when I met you, were you managing an office in Memphis, or?
I did several different things in Memphis, so I'm not really sure. I think I was director of training when we met.
Okay.
But I've been a principal broker. I've been director of training, assistant team leader, a team leader who manages the whole office, and then became a productivity coach.
Okay.
So I've kind of done it all, so I know all aspects of it.
Now, I know some people who are not on the call are maybe not familiar with Keller Williams, but I know you guys I think it's really cool how Gary has defined various roles inside the real estate organization. And if you haven't read the book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I think that's the title. It's a big red book.
Right.
I mean, he really lays out just, when I read that book, I thought, and I've been doing this since I was 18, and I thought, this just makes sense to me. But you now are what's called a MAPS coach. Tell us about what a MAPS coach is, and who you help, and how that whole scenario looks, or daily task, or
Okay, can I go back just a little bit and talk about the MREA book?
yes, yeah, absolutely, because it's a
I
great
wanted to
book.
tell you, I read that book when I was with another national brokerage and used that book in production, and I doubled my business in 1 year. Had no idea anything, but it was just a book. And Keller Williams came to town after that in a few years, still didn't know it had anything to do. Gary Keller, millionaire real estate. I just didn't make the connection, because if you read that book, it's not about Keller Williams.
Right. And
It
you're
is
right.
about
Anybody
building a
can use it.
business.
That's exactly right.
And you can even take real estate out of it and use it for a lot of different businesses, because it's all about building a business from the ground up.
It is. And I actually own the book, and I downloaded the audiobook, and the audiobook's really cool because in the book there's lots of examples, lots of uh, stories from people. And so on the audio book, you're actually getting all these different voices who are reading all those parts. And I mean, I love the book, and I think you should buy it, but it's a really neat listen as well if you've never listened to the audiobook.
I
But
have not listened to it.
yeah,
I'll have to go back and do that.
yeah, so I'm kind of on one of these where I'm listening and reading because I feel like it's, through my eyes and through my ears, I'm hopefully
Mm-hmm.
getting more information. But anyway, I wanted to mention that. So yes, and I think that's a great point that you brought up, is it really can apply to any type of business, and you don't have to be with Keller Williams. This is not a Keller Williams webinar, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out, that you uh, are now what's called a MAPS coach. And
Mm-hmm.
I've heard the term, but I don't really know what MAPS coach does. And I know coaching is very vital for people. We all need a coach, but I'll let you tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I started out as what is called a productivity coach. And that is something in Keller Williams where basically we just take agents and help them, coach them to be better. Because I don't care if you're playing baseball, football, exercising, whatever it is, you look at the people that are out there that are doing well, and they have a coach. And some of them have several coaches. And it's about accountability. It's about finding out what their goal is and holding them to it. Well, then after I was a productivity coach I became a productivity coach in 2013, and I just left the role last year, or this year. I totally left the role, but I became a MAPS coach last year. And what I do there is I coach the PCs that are in the productivity coaches that are in the market center. I coach them to how to build a successful program.
Okay.
And there's other MAPS coaches that, do team leaders and all the different roles that are in Keller Williams. But it's whether it's MAPS coaching or whether, what coaching you have at the company you're with, I am a big proponent of having a coach. That's where you have your accountability, and that's how you grow.
And I think that's a great point, that it reminded me of a friend of mine just recently opened a Keller Williams overseas. I won't mention the country, but he's a good friend of mine. And we were talking, I was just there in March visiting, and his office, he's just knocking it out of the park. But what's interesting is he was trying to do things a certain way. And when he met with a MAPS coach, and the coach told him, and of course this is all in French, you're doing everything wrong. You're not following the recipe, the system.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, we have systems and models.
Yeah. And when he turned to follow that, he said everything turned around for him. And I mention that because so many people watching, whether you're a real estate agent now and you're struggling, or you're not doing the production you want to do, or you're someone watching who says, well, I'd like to get a license, but are there too many people in the business? If you just follow a coach's advice, if you follow the system or the recipe, you can have success in this business. And I know you guys are big on building relationships, as you've mentioned several
Oh
times.
yeah.
So it's
Well,
interesting.
and why go out and um, do the things that have already been proven do not work,
Yeah,
and follow the
exactly.
things that do work? Because if not, you're just going back and reinventing the wheel. Kind of like, though, when you have teenagers, and we've already been through that, and
Right.
we want to guide them. They don't always listen to us,
Exactly.
and then they find out the hard way.
You're
It's the
right.
same thing with real estate. If you find a method that's been proven to work and has a system and model, all you have to do is follow it. Just
Right.
do what it says, and it
Exactly.
works.
Exactly. That's right. So what about people, Denise, who maybe are thinking about getting their license, but they are fearful that there are too many real estate agents? What do you tell, what's your advice or response to someone who is on the fence, but they think maybe there's too many agents in the business right now?
I don't think there's too many agents in the business. I think maybe there's not enough good agents.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and not calling anybody out. I just know
Right.
there's some agents that are better than others. And if you will get trained properly, and then you will get a coach to help you and get accountable and teach you the systems and models that work, you're going to be successful. I mean, I don't have the same sphere of influence that you do, or I don't really that anybody that I was in our market center with. We all have different friends and families, and maybe a spouse has a different job, or where do you go to church? Or there's always somebody um, that doesn't know anyone. I mean,
Right.
people go. Uh, Agents have open houses, and people will come in and they're like, I don't have anybody. I don't even know anybody that sells real estate. And we all think we all know, 10, 15 people, but you look and say, who's really doing it right? Who is someone that you would want to take care of your mom
Hmm.
or your brother or your grandmother when they were making that move? And we have a lot of people who do come in and they say they like looking at houses, and we'll say, well, if that's all it is, you might as well hang it up now.
Right.
Unless you want to be, we have teams that you can build, and if you just want to be a buyer's agent for someone, just go out and show houses all day long.
Right.
But
And I
then you
think
you find out there's a lot more to it than that.
right. And that's a whole nother area that sometimes agents don't realize. I was just writing about this on a blog that I had written, that maybe you don't want to work full time. Maybe there's a certain thing you would like to do. There are teams who are looking for buyers agents. There are teams who
Oh, all the time.
people to meet inspectors and do various small tasks and with inside the team that can save a lot of time for them, but allow you to still make some money. And then so I've had many successful agents who started out as assistants, just doing the paperwork and behind the scenes and learning the business that way, and then said, I think I'd like to get a license, and became very good
Well, and
agents.
there's also people that are looking for a career change, and they don't feel like they can do it all at once. And you can be a dual career agent. Just find a company that supports agents who are looking to transition. And I've seen many of them end up going full time, and they do really well. Now, it's a little more difficult for them just because of balance of time. I mean, teachers, they always make great realtors because they have, afternoons and summers and vacation. And then it's really big on a place for when they have their time in and they can retire. and then they go into real estate full time.
Exactly. Right. I mean, people ask me all the time when I'm traveling, because I do a lot of speaking internationally and I love to speak and train, but I tell people, well, I run an online real estate school. I'm a speaker and trainer, and I also am a real estate broker because I'm still in the trenches. And, I jokingly say I have three different profit centers because, there's nothing wrong, like you said, to have a dual career because and then maybe you transfer over. Well, what about let's talk a little bit about, okay, a person's now has their license, they're getting ready to join a company, whether it be Keller Williams or Berkshire Hathaway or Coldwell Banker or Century
Or any
21,
of them.
any of them. What advice would you give a new agent or even an agent who's struggling that wants to go back to the drawing board? What's your first, when you were a productivity coach, what were your first tips that you gave people and encouraged them to do?
The first thing that I would teach an agent to do, and I would even start when people were in real estate school, and that is to have them to start building their database, whether it is on an Excel spreadsheet. Of course, there's tons of CRMs out there now that you can use in your phone, but it's create this sphere of influence so that you can let people know, and you have to work it as a business.
Right.
You have to work your database. So I would say number one, have your database. There are scripts and dialogues out there that teach you what to say and when to say it and how to overcome objections. I would practice your scripts. Because you want to practice when you're either with another agent or in front of a mirror or, wherever. You
Right.
don't want to practice on your clients.
Right.
So if you do the scripts and role play, you have to learn your craft, but the big thing is knowing what to say and going out and saying it. Because if you are with a company that has somebody to help you with your contracts and things like that, because we all know when you get out of real estate school, there's a lot more to learn after
Right.
real estate school.
Exactly.
And so I would encourage them to build a database, find some scripts and role plays, dialogue. There's tons of it on the internet.
I was going to say on
the
YouTube,
brokerage
there's
that
a
you
lot
pick.
of
Oh yeah,
a
there
lot
is.
of a
And
lot of scripts.
And I would say this too, and I'm not promoting Keller Williams. I'm saying find a company that has some training that can help you, that you're not just out there by yourself.
Right.
And I know Keller Williams is not the only one. There's other training out there, and but find that one because you get what you pay for.
Right.
I mean, there's some that they don't have splits, or there's a lot of different compensation models. But if you look at it, you're normally getting what you pay for.
Right. Right.
So make sure you're at a company that can help you. Your database, your scripts, and dialogue, and those are the very first two things I would say to do. Because the other stuff, until you get those down, you might as well not know how to write a contract.
Right. Exactly.
Because if you don't know the other stuff, you're not going to get to a contract.
Right.
And then have somebody there to walk you through. And there's always classes about how to do contracts and, how to do a listing presentation, how to do a buyer consultation. The other thing I would tell an agent, though, when you first get your license, it is so easy to take somebody out and show them a house and them not be pre-approved because you think you got to get them. Let me tell you, that is the biggest waste of time. You can build a relationship by having them to come into your office and show them, have them meet a lender there. But until they are pre-approved, they're not a serious buyer.
Right. Excellent. Great.
Besides that, it's dangerous.
Right. Exactly. Great information. Now, one of the things that I know Keller Williams, and I'm just curious if you've ever taken that, they offer a bold course. My friend Darren Kittleson teaches Bold, and I've met people who've gone through the Bold course, but it kind of, I guess why I'm bringing this up, it goes along with your database and building it, treating it like a business.
Mm-hmm.
But you really have to get out and meet people. And I know in the Bold course, they really like push you to the limit on contacting people. I mean, they want you to get your mind readjusted to where
Right. It's a
I
mindset
can,
for start.
on how many
Well,
people
and
you need
and
to
the thing
contact.
is, I've been through Bold 6 or 7 times, and I will go back again this year because you're always at a different place when you go, and they do, update it. The main thing about it is you first go in there, and they work on your mindset so that you can learn the ways to do it, and they do push you. I mean, they push you so much, but then you find out you can do it, and then when you go back, let's say, because they push for 100 contacts a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a special thing that you can do that's 100 contacts in one day.
Right.
Well, think about it. If you've gone to do 100 contacts in one day, the next day, 20 is not going to seem like very many.
Right. And for the audience, even 100 contacts in 1 week, you said something earlier. There's a lot of real estate agents out there, but there's not a lot of good ones. There are some agents who would never make 100 contacts in 1 year. And so,
no.
But the successful agents are calling people, they're making contacts, they're visiting. Just from a speaker's perspective, if I get on the phone and call 2 or 3 people or send out 2 or 3 emails from the group that I've worked with, I normally always will pick up a speaking opportunity. I mean, I got another speaking opportunity this morning for a past client. I've been there twice, and I'm thinking, well, I thought maybe they were tired of me, but it just shows that, your past clients and customers will refer. If you do a good job, they will refer other business to you.
Oh, absolutely. I remember in the neighborhood that I lived in Memphis, we were a big part of that next door group that's out there, which is much bigger now than it was then. And I remember people being on there, and they needed somebody, for painting their house or some remodeling and different things. And so I got on there and told them I could recommend somebody to them. And I said, if you want me to come take a look at the house and tell you things that is worth putting the money in, because she was going to sell it. And just by offering help, in 1 week, I got 2 listings. And it was just being there to help people.
Right.
I didn't go to her to try to list her house because I had no idea who she knew. I didn't know what she needed. I didn't know if I wanted the listing. I mean, you don't want every listing that you go on.
Exactly.
But if you're there for people and let them know, I mean, I still have people call us that will ask me about something or ask for a referral, and it's because they trust me.
Right. Good. Excellent. Well, Denise, I know your time is very valuable. This has been very helpful. Anything else you want to give new agents or existing agents advice on how to be successful in real estate, or things that you've seen agents make changes or do that were beneficial for their business?
Time block their calendar that they lead generate every single morning.
And how do you, that's a great question, because, and I was just talking about that here with my real estate school and my 2 daughters who are helping me. But how do you, sometimes I have good intentions to time block, but then something comes up and I will allow that something to always push the time block out of the way. What's your advice?
Do I need to coach you?
Yeah. What do I need to do? Yeah.
Have a coach with accountability. I mean, I have some of the PCs, they do lead generating for people in their program, are looking to bring new agents in the market center. And when they say, this is my goal, this is what I want you to hold me accountable to it. And if they seem to not be doing it, I mean, they text me every day. I say, I want to see a text. I want to know how many people that you contacted that day to go towards reaching your goal.
So I should just block 9 to 10. I'm going to prospect and just don't let
and not
anything
let
else.
anything else.
And if an emergency comes up, then do I make it up or am I?
You take it, if you do have to erase, we call it erase and replace. So if you have to take that time for something else, you have to put it somewhere else.
Okay.
And let's say you took the whole day off, which is fine. You know, you may have decided to go to the beach for a day. Well, you still have to make X amount of contacts that week and X amount of contacts that month to reach your goal. So you just make it up somewhere else.
Okay, good. Which leads me to another thing. Do you get into to your agents figuring out how much money they want to earn and how many contacts? Is there any formula that you suggest or use that works?
Well, basically, they take the amount of money that they want to make, and they have to figure out, well, it depends on what company you're with and what kind of splits that you have.
Right.
But the main thing you want to look at is what's the average sales price in the area.
Right.
So once you figure that out, you divide that into how much you want to make, and you'll find out how many houses that you need to sell.
And then, so if I need to sell 30 houses, let's say, how many contacts is there a formula for? I've always heard like if you make 30 contacts, you'll get 10 warm and one will buy. Or do you have a number that if you contact this many people?
Well, if you know them, it's about like 12 to 2.
Okay.
You talk to 12 people, you're going to get a couple leads. If you don't know them, if you're just cold calling, it's more like 50 to 1.
Okay. So that's why that.
And it also depends on, it is. And it also depends on how well you are with your scripts, what kind of relationship you have with these people. Are you saying just the same thing over and over? Do you offer them something of value? There's lots of different ways to make that percentage better.
Okay.
And again, that's what a coach helps you with.
Good. All right. Well, Denise, thank you so much. This was wonderful, and I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And
well, I just want to give you kudos for your school.
Thank you.
The reason I recommend you is because I've seen the pass ratio from people in your school, the online school, versus people who have actually been in class and have seen where going through yours, there's a much higher pass rate.
Well, thank you so much.
And I tell people all the time, you do more than just have it out there. I mean, the study sessions, the flashcards. I mean, there's so many things that you offer that I haven't seen anywhere else. And I've seen the results, and that's why I promote your school.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really have been blessed just today I opened an email from a student who told me how much they enjoyed this school. And so it's been fun, and I appreciate people like you who are referring others to us. And thanks for sharing this time, because again, I want to, I'm always doing a lot of podcasts on definitions and math questions, but I also know that my current students, future students, and past students who may be watching this, I want to help them learn how they can grow their real estate businesses and succeed and be successful. And you just shared some amazing information. And so get a coach and treat it like a business. Scripts and network with your people. Scripts are so important. And again, just go to YouTube and search for real estate scripts, because it's amazing what you can find out. And sometimes people, when you say scripts, they think, oh, it's just something. But like I have scripts for, I always jokingly say I have this script on the length of listing I take, and it basically I just say some people like to work off a 6 month listing. We have some people that like a 12-month listing, but I normally like to go for, ask for a 4 month listing. Well, I use that script because a lot of times sellers maybe only want to give you 3 months. Now, in today's market, a 3 month listing is generally okay if it's priced right. But
Yeah,
it
right.
seemed like people would always go for a 4 month listing. It made me work a little harder to try to get, to give them good service. If it didn't sell, it was easier for them to give me another 4 months. And generally, I would always have the property sold within 8 months because I'm not going to take properties that I can't sell. And but that was just a script I had, and it was
Hmm.
people were. I guess what I'm trying to say is most sellers were really going into the listing were planning to just give me 3 months, and by using that script, it allowed me to get that extra 30 days, which just gave me a
Hmm.
little extra buffer. And, but
Well,
yeah,
can I talk about that on a
yeah,
couple of those things you just said?
right.
First of all, um, the reason people lose listings 90% of the time is because they do not communicate with the seller.
Exactly.
If you communicate with the seller, even if you have nothing to tell them, you say, we still doing our marketing,
Exactly.
um, still promoting it. We haven't had anybody this week to come look through. That's how you're going to keep your listing, even if you
Right.
do list it for 30 or 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, because there's some price ranges that don't sell that
Right.
quickly, and it's all about communication. So communicate. You cannot communicate too much with your seller. If for some reason they think you are, they'll let you know.
Right.
You never hear people say, I'm getting I'm canceling the listing because you contact me too much. That
Right.
just doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
And as a
The
broker,
other thing,
I was just going to say,
go ahead.
as a broker, when I have 3 offices and 40 agents, the number one, and I didn't get that many complaints from sellers, but the number one complaint I would get from sellers was because of just what you said. They were upset because their agent had never gotten back in touch with them. I mean,
Exactly.
and I would preach that at sales meetings, and it's like, if I could just get everyone to do that, I mean, it was like complaint free. And like you
Hmm.
said, people just, even if you just say, I'm sorry, I wish we'd shown it more, but we just don't have anything going on. It gives you an opportunity to talk about a price reduction. So anyway, go ahead. Your second thing
Right.
you were going to say is,
The other thing I was going to talk about scripts. People will say, "Oh, that doesn't sound like me. That sounds like you're reading from a piece of paper." Well, you are in the beginning until you learn them. The
right,
thing about scripts is you internalize them so you always know what to say. If somebody throws an objection at you, if somebody talks about pricing, if somebody wants to list their house less time than you want to, it's all about being prepared with the right things to say.
right,
It's going to come out sounding like you because your tone is yourself,
exactly.
your voice is yourself, the way body language is yourself. It's just those words that you learn, and when you internalize them, you'll be talking to someone, and next thing you know, you'll hear it come out. You're like,
Right.
"Oh, that was a script,"
Yeah. And
because
for
I
like,
have scripts because I learned all this stuff.
exactly. And I used to tell new agents, they would say, what do I say? I'm a new agent. And I would say, you can tell a seller that, look, I'm going to give you so much attention trying to sell your property because I don't have a lot of inventory like some of the other.
Right.
And after I sold my company and I went to work for a bank, and then I came back after my non-compete clause, I remember somebody saying, well, how many listings do you have? And it was an objection that maybe they didn't want to list with me because I didn't have any listings. And I said, well, I don't have a whole lot of listings. And that means I could spend more time working and concentrating on your property. And they were like, they hadn't thought about that. And that
Mhm.
really cinched the deal for them to give me their business. but it's like I took a negative and by knowing a script, flipped it to a positive.
Right.
And that's what you're talking
Well, you
about.
know, and I always use, if you have like somebody that has a big team, and if you're an individual agent going against that team, what I would tell them is, they already have it in their budget that 25% of their listings are not going to sell. And they have so many, it's just part of it. Well, if you have 4 listings, you can't afford for 25% of your listings not to sell.
That's right. Yeah.
When you're an individual agent.
Exactly.
And that's the way I would just spin it. If you're an individual agent, going against somebody that has a lot of experience, just because they have a lot of experience, it doesn't mean that they're any better than anybody else. It means they have somebody that's doing lead generation.
Right. Excellent.
Because I've seen agents who weren't that great but still had a lot of business.
Yes. I had to decline a call there that was coming in. Sorry about that. Well, listen, Denise, thank you so much. It's been a joy, and appreciate your kind comments on Global Real Estate School. If you're thinking
absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about going to real estate school, check us out at globalrealestateschool.com. Denise, again, works for Keller Williams. If she wants me to put her email in the subject line, I will. But if you have any other questions for her, you can reach out to me as well. But Denise, thank you.
Right. You can put my email address on there. That's fine. I'm willing to answer any questions or help anyone that I can.
Great. All right. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it, Denise. And thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.